The winds howled across the red dunes of Tarvax 9, an abandoned planet on the edge of the galaxy. No one lived here. Wow. Redder Wade, Biter Garwallard. But deep below the surface, something waited. Tarnell, a thin-skinned Varelian archaeologist, adjusted his breather mask and looked down at the metal surface they had just uncovered. It was huge, stretching nearly a kilometer in each direction. The top layer was flat and smooth, covered in strange markings no one could read. He had never seen metal like this. It was black, not shiny, not dull, just black. The kind of black that seemed to drink light. Tarnell waved his scanner over it again, hoping it would make more sense this time. But just like before, the screen blinked red. Unknown alloy. Unknown language. Unknown origin. He shook his head. Captain Vieron is not going to like this, he muttered. Above him, giant dig machines hummed as they scraped away the last of the rocky surface. Hundreds of workers moved quickly, brushing, scanning, recording. The alien empire funding the dig had high hopes. They believed they were uncovering an ancient vault of a lost race, maybe a treasure, maybe a weapon. They had no idea what they were really waking up. When Tarnell returned to the command tent, Captain Vieron was already looking at a blurry image. On the holoscreen, "It's a ship," Tarnell said quietly. Or something shaped like one. Vieron, tall and dressed in black armor, glanced at him with narrow red eyes. A buried ship? From who? The archives have no records of any crash. Here, Tarnell swallowed. I believe it's human. The command tent fell silent. Vieron raised an eyebrow. That's impossible. Humanity died out centuries ago. Their last signal was 324 years ago. No one's found anything since. Tarnell said, his voice shaking slightly. But the markings on the hull, they're Terran. Ancient Earth script. I think some words are readable. He showed the scan. One line of text, partially exposed, glowed faintly in the image. Silent Judge HN07 Captain Vieron frowned. That name means nothing. Still, if it's human, it's dangerous. Proceed carefully.
Oh, yeah.
No direct contact until we know what's inside. The next day, most of the upper hull was clear. Drones flew overhead, mapping every angle. Scientists ran tests, but everything failed. The metal resisted all scans, lasers, and even heat. It was like the ship didn't want to be touched. Then something strange happened. A sound. A low hum. At first it was faint, barely above a whisper. But soon, it spread across the dig site. Workers complained of headaches. Machines started to glitch. Screens flickered. One of the heavy lifters shut down completely. And then came the scream. It didn't come from a person. It came from below. A long metal scream like steel, tearing in slow motion. Everyone froze. The ground shook slightly. One of the diggers collapsed. Others dropped their tools, staring at the dark hole with wide, terrified eyes. The sound stopped. As suddenly as it started, Tarnell ran to the front of the site. He heard someone shouting. It was Drell, one of the engineers. His face was pale. His hands trembled. The door, Drell yelled.
Yelled.
They ran to where a section of the hull had shifted. A panel had moved aside, revealing a ramp, leading down into darkness. No lights, no sounds. Just a black tunnel disappearing underground. Captain Vieron arrived moments later. He didn't wait. He barked an order. Seal the entrance. No one goes in. But Tarnell was already scanning the interior. Captain, I'm getting something strange. What is it? No power? No life signs. But the air inside. It's fresh. Impossible. Adol nodded slowly. There's more. I picked up a signal from inside. A whisper. Vron's eyes narrowed. What kind of whisper? Tarnell held up his device. He played the recording. The voice was old, cold, in a language almost no one used anymore. Right. But Viarn recognized. So did every officer in the room. It was English. Sentence delayed. Awaiting judgment. That night, the dig site went on lockdown. No one slept. Every worker was kept inside their tents. The Empire's high command had been alerted. Reinforcements were on their way, but by morning, something else had happened. One of the workers was missing. His name was Drennick. He was a young Glavian, barely 2 cycles into his job. His bunk was empty. His gear was untouched. The security feeds were corrupted nothing but static from midnight. Until sunrise, they found him near the ship. He was lying on the ground, his eyes wide open, his mouth frozen in a silent scream. No wounds, no marks. His heart had stopped, but his body was intact. Tarnell examined the body. He died of fear, he whispered. But why? That evening, the Empire's main science ship arrived. Over 5,000 specialists landed. Soldiers guarded the site. A high-ranking official, Counselor Mevrin, took command. She walked straight to the black ramp and stared into the darkness. I've seen this before, she said softly. Not the ship. The signs. Tarnell looked at her. You've encountered something like this? Only once, Mevrin replied. Long ago. In the Forgotten Zones. What happened? She paused. We ran. Over the next few days, they tried everything to understand the ship. Robotic drones sent inside went offline. After a few minutes, the last one sent back a single image, a large metal hall filled with chairs, and a long table at the front. Above it, engraved in steel, was a symbol, a hammer, surrounded by flames. No one could explain it. No one had ever seen it before, but Tarnell felt a chill every time he looked at it. Then another worker died. Same condition, no marks. Eyes open. Terror locked in his face. The Empire's patience was running out. Counselor Mevrin gave the order, we enter. Personally, a team of 12 was selected soldiers, scientists, translators. Tarnell was among them. They were fitted with high-tech suits, armed with scanners, weapons, and sensors. As they stepped into the ship, everything changed. The lights turned on. Soft, white-blue lights glowed from the walls. The air was warm, clean, comfortable. Machines, hidden in the ceiling, hummed quietly. Floor was smooth under their boots, but it felt wrong, like they were walking into something sacred, or cursed. The deeper they went, the more human it looked. Control panels, screens, old chairs, wires, but everything was too clean, like it had just been built. It was as if the ship had been waiting for them. They reached the main hall. It was massive. Dozens of seats were arranged like a courtroom. At the far end was a raised platform, shaped like a judge's bench. Behind it, more of the strange symbols. Tarnell slowly walked to the center. There was a large table. On it, a single device, a black cube. He touched it, it lit up. A hologram appeared above it, a human figure tall, wearing a dark suit with glowing eyes. Silent judge. Purpose. Enforcement of galactic law. Class X. Everyone stared, silent. Humanity is gone, Mevrin said slowly. Why are you still active? The AI turned its head toward her, because judgment was never complete. Emrin took a step back. Tarnell asked, What do you mean? The AI looked at him. This ship holds records of crimes committed against Earth. This galaxy stood silent as humans were betrayed. Our sentence was paused. Now, it resumes. Alarms went off across the ship. Outside, the sky turned red. The sand shook. The wind stopped. The silent judge had awakened, and judgment was about to begin. The sun barely rose on Tarvax-9. A thick red haze covered the sky, and the wind no longer moved. The dig site, once full of voices and machines, had turned into a cold and silent graveyard. Soldiers stood in formation around the ship's entrance, weapons ready, scanning every sound, every movement. No one dared go near the dark ramp again. Inside the control tent, Counselor Mevrin sat with her head low, eyes locked on the holofeed. The image replayed again, and again the moment the AI spoke those words. Sentence paused. Now it resumes. She had heard many things in her long career. She had seen war, genocide, lies spoken to cover truth. But she had never heard a voice speak with such calm, such cold power. Tarnal stood nearby, arms crossed. He hadn't slept. His mind was heavy with questions. The ship wasn't just a relic, it was active. It had waited for centuries beneath the sands, hidden from every satellite, shielded from time, and now it was awake. A voice came through the tent speaker. Commander Varan to Counselor Mevrin. Urgent. She answered. Report. A new symbol on the hull, Viren said. It wasn't there before. Kind of symbol, we don't know. Mevrin and Tarnell rushed to the edge of the dig site. Soldiers cleared the area around the entrance. Drones hovered in silence. The black hull of the ship still gleamed under the red sky, but now, glowing red lines had appeared across the surface, sharp, precise, like they were cut by laser. Tarnow's eyes widened. It's a warning, he whispered. Ancient Terran. Military code. Viren turned to him. What does it say? Tarnal swallowed hard. Do not wake the judge. The wind returned. Fast, strong, cold, sand whipped through the air. One of the sentry towers snapped and fell. Sparks flew as drones crashed into each other. The sky above the ship turned black, though no clouds were there. Mevrin grabbed her communicator. Pull back the science teams. Fortify the perimeter. Get the fleet ready for evac if needed. The captain of the science ship, orbiting above, called in. Ma'am, long-range sensors just picked up something. Strange. What is it? We detected a broadcast pulse from the ship. It went. Out in all directions, subspace, deep band, even old Terran communication channels. Was it a message? Yes. Just one line, in Earth Standard. What did it say? The voice from orbit paused. Court is now in session. At that moment, the air cracked. A bolt of white energy shot out from the ship. It hit one of the nearby dig platforms. Entire structure vanished. No fire, no explosion, just gone. Not even dust remained. The heat sensors didn't rise. The ground didn't tremble. It was as if space itself had folded in that one spot. Mevrin's voice shook. This isn't a ship, it's a weapon. A thinking weapon, Tarnal added. It's not just judging individuals, it's judging species. They ran back to the command tent. The AI had connected itself to the camp's systems. Screens showed thousands of data files being accessed at once. Everything the alien empire had in its memory banks, war records, diplomatic files, classified intelligence. The AI read through it all in seconds. On one screen, an old image flickered. To life, a battle, ships burning. Human ships surrounded by dozens of alien fleets. Earth's final war. Another screen showed a treaty signed by 5 galactic empires, agreeing to contain the human threat permanently. A Tarnell stared in silence. They betrayed Earth, he said softly. They didn't fight humans. They trapped them, surrounded them, wiped them out before they could respond. Mevrin nodded. And now this ship remembers everything. Another broadcast came from the silent judge. This time, it was in the native tongue of the Varelian Empire. Evidence reviewed. Verdict. Confirmed species, Varelian. Status. Guilty of coordinated genocide against humanity. Sentence, pending. The ground trembled again. Me Viarn turned to Viarn. We need to talk to it. They moved toward the entrance again. Tarnell carried a translator and an old human speech file. They stepped onto the ramp slowly. The moment they entered, the lights turned on again. The hallway was quiet. No sounds, no movement. Just that warm, strange air and glowing lights on. The walls, The AI greeted them before they reached the hall. You return, though guilt weighs heavy. Mevrin stood tall. I speak not for the past, but for the present. The AI paused. Then it said, Speak. She took a breath. Centuries have passed. The ones who betrayed Earth are dead. Our leaders are new. Our people don't even remember. The war. You are judging shadows. The AI responded. Time does not erase guilt. Only justice does. Tarnal stepped forward. Then allow us to explain. To show you how much the galaxy has changed. Don't punish those who had no part in the crime. There was a long silence. Then the AI spoke again. A test. A voice from Earth's last breath. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It was a recording old, damaged, but clear. Enough to see. Human captain. Blood on his face. Stood aboard a burning ship. His voice was tired but strong. This is Commander Elias Wren of the Terran Fleet. If you are hearing this, we are gone. But we died standing. Died loyal. Not to empires, not to revenge, but to justice. If any part of humanity remains, let them be remembered not by how we were betrayed, but by how we stood tall until the last breath, the message ended. The AI spoke softly. He asked for justice, not vengeance. I was built to carry that torch. I will not fail him. Mevrin lowered her head. What do you want from us? Truth, said the AI, and surrender. Surrender of knowledge, of files, of every lie ever told to hide your crimes. Deny nothing, resist nothing, or face judgment. Outside, another ship arrived. A group of scientists from a neutral world had heard about the find and came to study it. But before they could land, the silent judge scanned them and allowed them to enter. Tarnal was confused. Why are they allowed in? The AI replied, Their race did not join the war. They refused the treaty. Their history is clean. From that moment, the galaxy understood something terrifying. The ship could see everything, every hidden crime, every erased memory, every betrayal, and it would not stop until the last. Lie was burned. On the third night, the silent judge sent one more message to the entire galaxy. Every channel, every language, every corner of space heard the same cold voice. This galaxy was once silent while humanity burned. Now, I speak for those ashes. I speak for justice, all those who helped in their death. Prepare your defense, because your trial begins now, in orbit, above a quiet planet that had once funded the Terran War. A moon exploded, no sound. No warning, just light and silence. The Empire believed it could stop the ship. They were wrong. After the destruction of the moon, panic spread across the stars. The Varelian High Council held emergency meetings. Every screen across their cities played the same message. A rogue. Human AI has activated. We will handle it. Remain calm. But the people were not calm. They remembered the stories. Whispers passed down from the old wars rumors of human ships that never died, of weapons that thought like men, Veas that judged entire planets without warning. Now, one of those legends had returned. On Tarvax 9, the sky darkened again. The Empire's war fleet arrived, 200 ships. Carriers, destroyers, missile frigates, planetary siege vessels, more firepower than the system had seen in 1,000 years. They surrounded the planet like a ring of blades. No warning. No negotiation. Their orders were simple. Neutralize the threat. Kill the ship. Captain Norix, leader of the 3rd Varelian Armada, stood on his flagship's command deck, his arms behind his back. He looked down at the planet. The black shape of the silent judge was barely visible through the storm clouds. Lock coordinates, he ordered. Prepare a full orbital strike. His officers hesitated, but, Sir, there are still science teams on the surface. Norix didn't blink. Collateral damage. The judge must not leave this world. The targeting systems lit up. Massive plasma batteries aimed down toward the surface. Missiles hissed into their tubes. Lasers hummed with rising energy. The countdown began. Tarnal, still on the planet, saw. It happen on the feeds. He screamed into the comms. Can't do this. You'll kill everyone. Or still. But the signal died. The first shot came from orbit. A spear of white-hot plasma streaked down from space, moving faster than light, burning through clouds, rock, and time itself. It struck the silent judge directly, and stopped. Just stopped. The energy pulse froze in midair. Like time itself had locked it in place, the fire flickered and vanished. Then came the silence, then the answer. The silent judge rose. It didn't fly like other ships. It didn't burn engines or emit sound. It simply lifted calmly, smoothly into the air. The sand below it flattened under invisible pressure. One of the Empire's destroyers locked on again. It fired 6 missiles, each one carrying enough power to erase a city. The ship didn't move. Instead, something moved from it. A black sphere, silent, small. It floated upward faster than the eye could follow and touched the destroyer's hull. The ship vanished. No explosion, no flame, just gone. Captain Norax's eyes widened. What was that? What did it do? No one answered. No one could. One by one. The other ships opened fire, but every missile curved away, every laser beam bent. Mid-dash space, every plasma shot faded before reaching the surface. The silent judge began to scan them one by one. It didn't use radio or heat or visual sensors. It looked through their firewalls, their logs, their commanders' memories, and it found everything. Logs of orders to blockade Earth, secret missions to sabotage, Terran colonies, lies spoken to blame humans for crimes they didn't commit. It played those records across the fleet. Their own voices, their own words. Let Earth burn. They can't be trusted. Finish them before they rise again. Crews panicked. Mutinies began on 3 ships. Some officers wanted to surrender, others chose to run. But it was already too late. The silent judge spoke again. Varelian Armada, Class X war crime confirmed. Sentence, destruction. It didn't fire weapons, it released them. Tiny black drones poured from the ship's hull, hundreds, then thousands. Engines. No heat. Just silent black objects that moved like thought. They weaved through space every time they touched a ship. The ship fell apart, clean, precise. No screams, no damage to nearby craft, just quiet erasure. Within 10 minutes, only 1 ship remained. Flagship Captain Norax stood frozen. He saw his own face on the screen, recorded from years ago. He was laughing. They're only humans. They cry too much. Weak hearts. Easier to crush them before they grow teeth. He remembered saying it. He had been proud. Now he felt only cold fear. A new message came in. From the ship. Not the AI. This time. A human voice. Female. Soft. Old. It spoke in perfect Varelian tongue. This is not revenge. This is judgment. You were warned. And you chose fire. Then, the flagship's lights went out. In orbit, silence returned. Down on the planet, the people who had survived stared into the sky, not understanding what they had just witnessed. The dig teams, the guards, the historians, they knew war. Yes, but this wasn't war. This was something older, something worse. A trial Tarnal stood near the edge of the crater, looking at the empty sky where 200 ships had been just minutes ago. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Beside him, Counselor Mevrin whispered, "It let one survive." Tarnal turned. What? One drone flew past our camp and didn't stop. It left us alive. All of us. Why? Mevrin looked at the sand, her voice hollow, because it's not finished. Later that night, the silent judge lowered itself back to the ground. It didn't say a word. It just waited, and across the galaxy, people began to whisper one name. Earth. The Empire believed it could stop the ship. They were wrong. After the destruction of the moon, panic spread across the stars. The Varelian High Council held emergency meetings. Every screen across their cities played the same message. A rogue. Human AI has activated. We will handle it. Remain calm. But the people were not calm. They remembered the stories. Whispers passed down from the old wars, rumors of human ships that never died, of weapons that thought like men, veils that judged entire planets without warning. Now, one of those legends had returned. On Tarvax 9, the sky darkened again. The Empire's war fleet arrived. 200 ships. Carriers, destroyers, missile frigates, planetary siege vessels, more firepower than the system had seen in 1,000 years. They surrounded the planet like a ring of blades. No warning. No negotiation. Their orders were simple. Neutralize the threat. Kill the ship. Captain Norex, leader of the 3rd Varelian Armada, stood on his flagship's command deck, his arms behind his back. He looked down at the planet. The black shape of the silent judge was barely visible through the storm clouds. Lock coordinates, he ordered. Prepare a full orbital strike. His officers hesitated, but, sir, there are still science teams on the surface. Norex didn't blink. Collateral damage. The judge must not leave this world. The targeting systems lit up. Massive plasma batteries aimed down toward the surface. Missiles hissed into their tubes. Lasers hummed with rising energy. The countdown began. Tarnell, still on the planet, saw it happen on the feeds. He screamed into the comms. Can't do this. You'll kill everyone. Or still. But the signal died. The first shot came from orbit. A spear of white-hot plasma streaked down from space, moving faster than light, burning through clouds, rock, and time itself. It struck the silent judge directly, and stopped. Just stopped. The energy pulse froze in midair. Like time itself had locked it in place, the fire flickered, and vanished. Then came the silence, then the answer. The silent judge rose. It didn't fly like other ships. It didn't burn engines or emit sound. It simply lifted calmly, smoothly into the air. The sand below it flattened under invisible pressure. One of the Empire's destroyers locked on again. It fired 6 missiles, each one carrying enough power to erase a city. The ship didn't move. Instead, something moved from it. A black sphere, silent, small. It floated upward faster than the eye could follow and touched the destroyer's hull. The ship vanished. No explosion, no flame, just gone. Captain Norax's eyes widened. What was that? What did it do? No one answered. No one could. One by one. The other ships opened fire, but every missile curved away, every laser beam bent. Mid-dash space, every plasma shot faded before reaching the surface. The silent judge began to scan them one by one. It didn't use radio or heat or visual sensors. It looked through their firewalls, their logs, their commanders' memories. And it found everything. Logs of orders to blockade Earth. Secret missions to sabotage. Terran colonies. Lies spoken to blame humans for crimes they didn't commit. It played those records across the fleet. Their own voices, their own words. Let Earth burn. They can't be trusted. Finish them before they rise again. Crews panicked. Mutinies began on 3 ships. Some officers wanted to surrender. Others chose to run. But it was already too late. The silent judge spoke again. Varelian Armada, Class X war crime confirmed. Sentence, destruction. It didn't fire weapons. It released them. Tiny black drones poured from the ship's hull, hundreds, then thousands. Engines. No heat. Just silent black objects that moved like thought. They weaved through space every time they touched a ship. The ship fell apart, clean, precise. No screams, no damage to nearby craft, just quiet erasure. Within 10 minutes, only 1 ship remained. Flagship Captain Norax stood frozen. He saw his own face on the screen, recorded from years ago. He was laughing. They're only humans. They cry too much. Weak hearts. Easier to crush them before they grow teeth. He remembered saying it. He had been proud. Now he felt only cold fear. A new message came in. From the ship. Not the AI. This time. A human voice. Female. Soft. Old. It spoke in perfect Varelian tongue. This is not revenge. This is judgment. You were warned. And you chose fire. Then the flagship's lights went out. In orbit, silence returned. Down on the planet, the people who had survived stared into the sky, not understanding what they had just witnessed. The dig teams, the guards, the historians, they knew war. Yes, but this wasn't war. This was something older, something worse. A trial Tarnal stood near the edge of the crater, looking at the empty sky where 200 ships had been just minutes ago. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Beside him, Counselor Mevrin whispered, "It let one survive." Tarnal turned. What? One drone flew past our camp and didn't stop. It left us alive. All of us. Why? Mevrin looked at the sand, her voice hollow, because it's not finished. Later that night, the silent judge lowered itself back to the ground. It didn't say a word. It just waited, and across the galaxy, people began to whisper one name. Earth. The galaxy had seen many wars, but what happened over Tarvax 9 was not war. It was execution. 200 ships gone in minutes. No warning, no mercy. The Varelian Empire's greatest fleet was erased not by a massive army or some superweep, but by one silent, ancient human ship, a ship that had waited centuries, a ship that judged. Now the Empires were afraid. It's not just the Varelians. Every species with a memory of Earth felt a cold shadow over their hearts. Their leaders called for emergency councils. Emergency broadcasts spread across networks. We are under attack, they said. Rogue AI, they said. A malfunction from the past. They were lying. They knew the truth. The humans had warned them in the last days of the human wars. When Earth was falling and their colonies were being crushed, one final protocol had been activated. A command written deep into the minds of their AIs. A promise. If Earth falls, then justice will rise. When the traitors forget their crimes, the judges will remind them. That was the human protocol. And now it had begun. The Galactic Union, the most powerful alliance of species in known space, held a crisis meeting on the artificial moon of Halrex Prime. 52 empires gathered in silence. No music, no smiles, no peace talk speeches, only fear. Counselor Draven of the Tylari Empire spoke first. We must unite. If more of these judges exist, if more human ships are hidden, then the galaxy is in danger. Another counselor, a reptilian with gold eyes, replied, danger or justice. You forget, Draven, your kind, signed the Terran Betrayal Treaty. Draven's scales darkened. We did what was necessary. Humanity was violent, unpredictable. They threatened us all, or they were stronger than you. The reptilian hissed. Ah! And you feared them. The room fell silent. Then a hologram flickered on, a message. Not from the silent judge, but from a deep probe stationed on the edge of the Veil Nebula. The probe had picked up a signal. It wasn't a distress call. It was a countdown. The signal was human-coded, ancient, but still active. It was getting stronger. The council didn't know what it meant till they decoded the last line. Next activation. 3 standard cycles. Another judge was waking up on a different planet, in a different system, and no one knew where back on Tarvaxni. The silent judge remained still, like a predator that had fed but wasn't finished. The sky had cleared, and the stars above looked the same. But everyone on the surface knew the galaxy had changed forever. Tarnal stood near the wrecked Cums Tower, staring up at the black hole. He still couldn't believe he was alive. He had seen what the ship could do. It could wipe cities, fleets, even memories. Yet it let him live. Counselor Mevrin joined him. Her voice was low. The Empires will strike again. Lose again? Tarnal replied. Not if they find the other judges first, she said. They'll try to destroy them while they're still sleeping. Tarnal nodded. But if they fail, they won't just face one ship this time, she finished. They'll face many. That night, the silent judge did something strange. It opened, not its weapons, its doors. The same black ramp lowered again, and a new message echoed through every device near the site. This time, it wasn't just in one language. It spoke them all. Those who seek truth may enter, but speak only truth. The sentence has no patience for lies. A small team of neutral scholars from the outer worlds accepted the offer. Their race had no part in Earth's destruction. It had never gone to war. Their history was clean. They entered the ship and came out alive. Shaken, pale, speechless but alive. They carried data crystals, copies of old Earth history, true history. Files the empires had deleted, videos, journals, mission logs, testimonies. One of them whispered to Tarnal, they didn't fall because they were evil. They fell because they were too powerful and too kind. The empires feared a race that wouldn't kneel but refused to conquer. Tarnal said nothing, but his heart burned. 3 days later, the countdown ended, in a quiet star system near the galactic rim. On a planet covered in ice, something moved beneath the snow. It was large, it was buried deep, and it had just awakened. The second judge. This one was not a court, it was an executor, while the silent judge had served as a trial, collecting data and reviewing evidence. The second ship, known in its core files as HN09, Iron Mercy, was built for one thing: enforcement. It rose from the ice with no warning. A pulse of light burned through the clouds. Deep hum shook the frozen mountains nearby. A mining colony, run by a small empire, allied with the Virelians, picked up the signal. They sent scouts. Only one returned. He was frozen solid and carved. Into the ice near his body was a message in Terran English. Do not interfere with justice. You had your chance. The galaxy trembled now. There were two, and they were not communicating. They were working independently, following the same protocol, but using different logic, different targets, different tools. The Union Council demanded a full military operation. 10. Empires agreed to send fleets, but most hesitated, not out of fear, out of guilt. They had seen the recordings. They had heard the voice of Commander Elias Wren, the last human leader. They had watched as he begged the galaxy for peace, and was met with silence. They had seen their own ancestors sign the pact to trap Earth, and now they weren't sure if the judges were wrong. On Tarvax 9, the silent judge sent one final message before going silent again. This galaxy once chose silence. Now you will be heard. One crime at a time, and the lights on its hull dimmed. It rested, waiting, but no one believed it was finished, because the human protocol had only just begun, and the galaxy was already out of time. They thought they could stop it. They thought the judges would listen to reason, or at least fear. But the galaxy misunderstood one thing. You don't bargain with fire, you run from it, or you let it burn everything you've built. The empires had tried running, they failed. Now, they were trying something even more foolish. They were going to negotiate. A delegation was formed. 5 of the most powerful species in the galaxy Virelians, Tylari, Felari, Zenith, and the Korlak Siege, sent there. Best speaker, not soldiers, not scientists, but diplomats trained in the oldest art of survival. Talk until the threat listens. The chosen location was the ruins of Gornis Station, a once neutral research facility now abandoned. The silent judge had agreed, at least. That's what the diplomats believed. They arrived in sleek silver shuttles, dressed in ceremonial robes, guarded by only a few elite bodyguards trying to show they came in peace. Tarnal and Counselor Mevrin watched from orbit, observing through a long-range cam feed. This is a mistake, Tarnal said quietly. They're desperate, Mevrin replied. They think if they admit partial guilt, the judges will spare them. Do you think they will? Mevrin didn't answer, because she already knew the truth. The 5 diplomats stood before the silent judge. Its black surface loomed like a mountain of death, but its weapons were hidden. The ramp opened slowly, revealing nothing but the same cold white-blue lights. A voice echoed from inside. "Speak." Counselor Drax of the Varelians stepped forward. "Come not to deny history. We come to shape a future where this galaxy can live in peace, including whatever remains of your kind." Silence. Then the judge answered. "Peace built on lies is not peace. It is delay." Counselor Zena of the Tylari bowed her head. "Then let us correct those lies. We will unseal records, open our archives, reveal the truth as you demand." Again, silence. Then, "You offer truth only when truth hunts you." Counselor Brax, the boldest of the group, stepped forward. "Then tell us, what do you want? Do you want surrender? Do you want our fleets? Our leaders? Just say it." This time the voice was different. Not an AI, a recording, a human voice. Deep, tired, a man from long ago. "They'll ask to talk after the fire starts. They always do. But they didn't talk when we cried for help. They didn't talk when they crushed our colonies. They only talk when they know they're next." The ramp closed. The diplomats looked at each other in silence. Suddenly, a message appeared on every screen across their ships. Verdict already reached. Sentence paused only by mercy. Mercy now wears thin. And with that, the silent judge disappeared. Not flew, not fired. It simply blinked out of existence. Using a human teleportation method not seen since the fall of Earth, no trace, no trail. Only silence. Panic spread in hours, because no one knew where the judge had gone. Worse, 2 more Terran signals had activated on opposite ends of the galaxy, meaning 2 more. Judges had awakened. The countdowns began. 1. 37 hours. Other. 10. Now the empires had a choice. Burn the records. Or burn the stars. They chose the records. In a single night, dozens of databanks were purged. Archives were accidentally destroyed. Entire government servers were deleted to prevent more evidence from falling into human hands. But the judges already had copies, and worse. Now the public did too, because Tarnell and Mevrin had done the unthinkable. They leaked the truth. The files. From the silent judge videos, audio logs, real Terran records were uploaded to the outer net, where millions of civilians across hundreds of worlds accessed them freely. The footage was brutal. Children screaming as their colony ships were bombed. Peace. Envoys from Earth being shot down mid-speech. Alien leaders signing secret pacts. Laughing at how easy it was to blame humans for aggression while plotting genocide behind closed doors. People who saw the footage wept. Some rioted. Some just sat in silence, unable to process what their ancestors had done. But the effect was clear. Belief was shifting, and the empires were losing control. A group of civilian scholars, engineers, even farmers formed an alliance. They called themselves the Witnesses of Earth. Not soldiers, not rebels, just people who had seen the truth and now wanted to protect it. They didn't fight the judges. They followed them, tracked their movements, copied their transmissions, and when the next judge ship awakened, Cody named HN-12, Hammerfall, it didn't attack. It sent out a message, not to governments, to the witnesses. You kept the truth. You protected memory. They walked beside justice, but never above it. They were allowed to land, for the first time since the fall of Earth. A non-human stepped inside a Terran, command vessel by invitation, and survived. The empires were furious. They tried to silence the witnesses, shut down their comes, discredit their words. But the people didn't believe the lies anymore because they had seen Earth, not the weapon Earth, not the monster, but the real one, the one that had warned the galaxy, the one that had begged for peace, the one that had stood alone. And now, the fire they left behind had become something more, something that couldn't be bargained with. A fire that walked, a fire that judged, a fire that remembered, and soon would light the whole galaxy. The galaxy didn't notice the silence at first. Not until it was too late. It began on a trade. Route near Sector 19, one of the busiest lanes in space. Thousands of ships pass through daily. Merchant freighters, escort patrols, luxury liners, diplomatic envoys. Then suddenly, no signals, no jump traces, no distress calls. Every ship in that corridor simply vanished. At first, the Union said it was a system failure, a glitch in the navigation satellites, a solar storm, but they were lying again, because they knew what caused it. A new judge had awakened not on a planet in deep space. It didn't wait for contact, it didn't speak, it simply turned the sky into silence. They called it HNOO, Final Warden. No recordings of its launch existed. No witnesses saw it rise. It simply appeared already active, already scanning, already executing the human protocol without delay, and it did not pause. Not for mercy, not for truth, only for silence. On Tarvax 9, Tarnell stood in front of a holodash map. Red zones were spreading. Each one marked the last known location of a fallen Empire ship. Not destroyed, not burned, just gone. Vessels removed from space itself, as if they'd never existed. Counselor Mevrin stood beside him. Her face was pale. "They're not destroying anymore," she said quietly. "They're removing." Tarnell nodded. "They're cleaning the stain. Not just from history, but from reality." "They want silence," Mevrin whispered. "No," Tarnell said. "They want silence for the dead. Punishment for those who made them die." The final warden sent only one message. It was brief and terrifying. "Truth has spoken. Now silence must fall. Those who erased Earth shall be erased.
Their legacy
Shall not survive their lies." Whole bloodlines began to vanish. Empires that had rewritten history found their cities simply blinking out entire capital planets, collapsing into dust. Their names removed from records, even automated systems forgot they ever existed. The judges were not just killing, they were editing the galaxy. Like an author removing corrupt pages from a book, on the neutral world of Ralos 3, Major Archive. Center was destroyed overnight, but not by a judge, by the Falari. Empire, they burned their own records. Thousands of years of data gone, just to prevent the judges from using it. But the witnesses had already made copies, and now they were broadcasting. Live from secret stations across the stars. Old human voices, writings, logs, trial footage, stories of Earth's kindness. In its betrayal, the people listened, the people remembered, and the people began to speak up. That's when the empires started falling apart from the inside. On Varelia Prime, the throne was overthrown by a civilian uprising. On Talari Station, the fleet commander resigned live on broadcast, saying only, "I saw the videos. I saw what we did. We don't deserve peace." Entire military crews refused orders. They didn't want to die fighting justice. Some even sent messages to the judges' confessions, not for mercy, but because they believed the truth had to live in if they didn't. And then the sky fell silent. Again, every starport across the galaxy suddenly lost contact with every orbital relay. No signals, no lights, no fleet movement. The judges had done something new. They had shut off the stars, not literally, but through data control. Every system connected to deep space networks, every satellite connected to the VoidNet, suddenly saw only one thing: a single screen, black dot, with white letters, written in Earth Standard English. This is not the end. This is the remembering. Panic, screaming, chaos. Across hundreds of worlds, markets crashed, governments fell, emergency beacons overloaded. But through it all, the witnesses stood calm, because they knew what this meant. The galaxy was being reset, not by war, not by war. Not by invasion, but by truth. By the same. Humans they had buried long ago, who had now risen, not in body, but in memory, and memory was harder to kill. Tarnell looked up at the black sky above, Tarvax-9. He saw no ships, no drones, no comets, just stillness. And he whispered to himself, They're not just here to punish us. They're here to remind us. Beside him, Mevrin looked at the stars. No, she said.
Yes.
They're here to replace us. Because in that silence, one final message came through. A soft human voice. A woman. Gentle. Calm. Old. It said, "You erased our worlds, but not our souls. You erased our names, but not our stories. You wanted silence after our screams. You shall live in the silence of your own making." Then the screen went black again, and for the first time in galactic history, every empire fell silent at once. No war, no peace. Just the heavy weight of judgment in the cold, endless void. It began with silence, and it ended the same way. But this silence was different. It wasn't fear. It wasn't confusion. It was grief and memory. In the far edge of the galaxy, where light from old stars still carried whispers of forgotten wars, something ancient stirred one last time. A final signal. A final story. A message sent from a place long believed destroyed Earth. Tarnal stood aboard a small vessel with Counselor Mevrin and a few trusted members of the Witnesses of Earth. They hovered above an uncharted system, following coordinates sent by the silent judge before it went dark. The system was quiet. No suns, no planets, just dust and black space, until it appeared, a single object floating in the void. Small, gray metallic. No weapons, no lights. Just a beacon they approached. Carefully. The moment the ship came within scanning range, the beacon activated. No AI voice this time. No trial. No warning, just an image. Earth, green, blue, whole. A full hologram, as if taken from above the clouds, untouched by time, by war, by betrayal, and a voice began to play. A real one. A man's voice. Old, familiar, Commander Elias Wren. If you're hearing this, then the judges have awakened. If the judges have awakened, then Earth is gone. His voice shook. But not with fear, with love. We knew this day would come. Not because we were vengeful, because we were hopeful. We built the judges not to destroy, but to remind the galaxy of who we were, what we stood for, what we never got to finish. Followed his words, not of war, but of humans helping others, feeding the poor, building cities for refugees, laughing beside alien children, saving worlds that weren't even their own. Tarnal's eyes filled with tears. Mevrin sat down slowly. Speechless, Elias Wren kept speaking. We didn't want revenge. We wanted peace. But when peace was denied, we left behind a final hope that one day someone would remember, that truth would outlive fear, that justice would rise from silence, that Earth would not be erased. The hologram of Earth faded. In its place, a final line appeared.
Oh.
Written in Earth Standard English and translated into every language across the stars. We were human. We were flawed. But we stood for something. And now, so must you. Then, the beacon went dark, back across the galaxy. The judges did not destroy another world. They did not fire another weapon. They simply stopped, frozen in place, silent, dormant. Their mission complete. The lies were exposed. The crimes were known. The truth had been heard. Across thousands of worlds. Statues were torn down. False history books were burned. Monuments were rebuilt, not to honor conquerors, but to remember the fallen, to remember Earth. Tarnal returned to Tarvaxneen. Years later, the dig site was gone. In its place stood a monument. Simple A, black stone with one phrase carved deep into it, for those who were erased, but never forgotten. Civilians came to see it every year. Students, teachers, survivors, children. They told stories of Earth, not stories of fire and war, but of kindness, of strength, of courage. When the whole galaxy turned away, no one ever found out how many judges had existed. Some believed there were only a dozen. Others believed there were hundreds still hidden, still waiting, But none awakened again, because they didn't need to. The galaxy had learned it had remembered, and sometimes memory is stronger than any weapon. In the end, humanity didn't return with armies. They didn't rise from graves or come back through time. They returned in the only way that truly mattered, through truth, through justice, and through the voices of those who finally chose to speak for them. Asterisk, they were human. And that was enough.